Darwin's theory that man can adapt himself to almost any new environment is being illustrated in this day of economic change by thousands of New Yorkers who have discovered new ways to live and new ways to earn a living since their formerly placid lives were thrown into chaos by unemployment or kindred exigencies. This is a newspaper article, and they did just use the word exigencies. Continuing the quote, occupations and duties which once were scorned have suddenly attained unprecedented popularity. Look at all those big words they use. Can you believe that? We couldn't use all those in a big paper today, could we? 2 years ago, citizens shied at jury duty. John Doe and Richard Roe, summoned to serve on a jury, thought of all sorts of excuses. They called upon their ward leaders and their lawyers for aid in getting exemptions, and when their efforts were rewarded, they sighed with relief. But now, things are different. The Hall of Jurors in the Criminal Courts building is jammed and packed on court days. Absences of talesmen are infrequent. Jurors get $4 for every day that they serve. There we go. Interesting fact that people were willing to serve in the jury to get a little money during this time of fascism. Once the average New Yorker got his shine in an established bootblack parlor paying 10 cents with a nickel tip. But now, in the Times Square and Grand Central zones, the sidewalks are lined with neophyte shine boys drawn from almost all walks of life. They charge a nickel. And although a nickel tip is welcome, it is not expected. So you used to pay 10 cents, now you pay 5. You used to tip 5 cents on top of the 10, but you don't have to tip anymore. Some people look at that and they see that people are being demeaned. People are being taken from whatever highly job they had to whatever lowly job. You know, now they're a shoe shine boy for a nickel a shine. Other people look at that and say there's a readjustment going on, and the people who stick with it and do their best will continue to do well in the future. So you can play your heart out and get your violin and get the government into it to prevent bankers from shining shoes. But I don't think that it should be prevented. I think bankers need to end up shining shoes from time to time. Okay. Now, I don't know, there's several more. I guess we don't need to take the time to go through the examples. But it mentions for the fact that a vegetable hawker had not been seen in years in certain neighborhoods. And all of a sudden, between 5 and 6 o'clock in the mornings, the ferries are clogged with horses and carts full of vegetables. Farmers who have a plot of land to get a vegetable or two off take it into town and just go through the streets in the morning and sell it. And when the cart comes by, you just say, run out there and get us some good carrots and tomatoes, Tom, and send your boy out there with some money, right? Quote, and while he is not yet shouting his wares on Park Avenue, he has invaded many a neighborhood in which a vegetable hawker had not been seen in years. His goods may or may not be cheaper than the corner grocers, right? You might even pay a little more. But there is some psychology about buying vegetables from a cart that is dear to the thrifty housewife, right? This cart comes from the farm that the vegetables grew on. The number of vegetable hawkers has increased by 40% within the last 2 years, according to the estimate of the City Licensing Bureau. So the scads of unemployed people just led to new, cheaper, better services in lots of other areas. It was simply an opportunity for the economy. The economy had some different things it was able to do. It was restricted from doing before because of the cost of labor and so on. Okay, now to page 12, selection 7. Americans seek Russian jobs. This one is interesting. From Business Week, October 7th, 1931. Amtorg, A-M-T-O-R-G, I don't know what that stands for, gets 100,000 bids for Russia's 6,000 skilled jobs. So apparently Russia came to us looking for 6,000 skilled workers, and 100,000 people applied for those jobs. New Yorkers dominate the flow of Americans who have decided, at least for the time being, to cast their lot with the Russians. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Illinois show heavy quotas of recruits under the new call for 6,000 skilled workers. And Michigan, Ohio, California, and Massachusetts are well represented. More than 100,000 applications have been received at the Amtorg's New York office for the 6,000 jobs. One morning's grist of applications last week totaled 280, just one morning. All but 10 states were represented that morning. Both Alaska and Panama furnished an applicant, and 18 Canadians wanted to try their luck in Russia. Because of the general knowledge that Russia is industrializing, applicants usually are skilled workers at machine construction, on the railroads and steel mills, automobile factories, or the building industries. A glance at the qualifications of some of the 280 applicants in this typical morning showed that experts in all lines were after work, even if it meant going to Russia and accepting pay in rubles. There were 2 barbers, 1 funeral director, 2 plumbers, 5 painters, 2 cooks, 36 clerical workers, 1 service station operator, 9 carpenters, 1 aviator, 58 engineers, 14 electricians, 5 salesmen, 2 printers, 2 chemists, a shoemaker, a librarian, 2 teachers, 1 cleaner and dyer, 11 automobile mechanics, and a dentist. Now get this, this is the kicker. This is the most interesting part. All these people who said, a job in Russia? I might try that. About 85% of the applicants are citizens of the United States, though only 40% are native born. The 60% foreign born are largely from Eastern Europe. So an area heavily dominated by Russia during the Great Depression was able to get about 60,000 immigrants to America to decide maybe they'll cast an application to go back to their homeland, basically. So out of all the United States, 60% of the people who chose to go to Russia or to apply for these jobs, 60% of them were actually born in the Russian sphere. Behind the Urals by John Scott, an American worker in Russia's City of Steel. He helps build Magnitogorsk. This is a fantastic book. I read it in 2 days when I started it. I couldn't put it down. Very good book. This guy was from Minnesota, I believe, or Milwaukee, or Michigan, and his parents were die-hard socialists. So they were all about what was going on in Russia. And during the Great Depression, he decided he would go try his hand in Russia. That's a fantastic book right there. If you ever watch my video on socialized medicine, I read an excerpt from that book about the dentistry in Magnitogorsk. Just sends a chill up your spine. Didn't have to pay. You know, dentistry was free. Continuing the quote, the majority of workers who apply are married and have children. 3 principal reasons are advanced for wanting the position. 1, unemployment, they're not employed. 2, disgust with conditions here in America. And 3, interest in the Soviet experiment. Foreign-born workers practically all state that they intend to remain in the USSR. They say, if I go there, I'm going to stay there. Of the engineers, the really highly educated guys, only 10 to 20% plan to stay there. And that's the end of that selection. Interesting. Okay. Selection number 8, which we won't read all of. The title is Jails Are Better Than Subways from the New York Times, October 7th, 1932. 54 men were arrested yesterday morning for sleeping or idling in the arcade connecting the subway through 45 West 42nd Street. But most of them considered their unexpected meeting with the raiding party of 10 policemen as a stroke of luck because it brought them free meals yesterday and shelter last night from the sudden change in the weather. Then it goes on to say that it took a long time, the work of fingerprinting them and making the necessary comparisons with police records, blah blah blah, required so much time that Magistrate Renaud postponed the men's trial on charges of disorderly conduct until this afternoon. This ensured them sleeping quarters for the night and more free meals today.